Yantiv, everyone. Tonight, when you look up at the sky, it will be dark, without the presence of the moon. Rosh Hashanah is the only Jewish holiday that comes at the start of the month, when the moon is new and therefore not visible to us. Rosh Hashanah is about new beginnings, and Rosh Hashanah is about hope. It's about knowing that the moon is there even if we cannot see it, believing that there can be goodness in the year that will unfold, believing that we have the power to make the new year a good one. On this sacred night, we gather as one to mark the passage of time. Some of us have more memories than we can count in this auditorium, so beautifully turned into a sanctuary by our remarkably dedicated team of volunteers. Others are new to this community and to this space. To all of you, we say welcome home. We are keenly aware of how fortunate we are to be able to pray together, to reflect, to reach inward towards ourselves, upwards towards God, and out to one another. And how good, too, to know that those unable to be present with us physically are here with us thanks to our stream team volunteers through our live stream. Our community is so blessed to be led by our president, Neil Gussis. Neil brings his talents and virtues to our congregation. He leads with wisdom and fortitude, respect and strength. It's an honor tonight to be able to call on Neil to share his New Year's reflections and greetings with all of us. L'Shana Tova.
Good evening. It's an honor and privilege to be the current president of TBI and be able to provide some personal reflection and gratitude as we welcome the new year, 5783. How nice is it to be back together in each other's physical presence among our people, our community? Yes, we made it work the last 2 years, but it wasn't the same. On the other hand, however, one of the byproducts of the past years is that we now have access to the technology to expand our worship to include those unable to join us in person. Welcome. This year, in my time of reflection, I would like to share with you a bit of how I grew up and my exposure to Judaism and how life events, raising a family, and changing priorities all have played an instrumental role in me living my Jewish life. It is with retrospect that I can now understand that my upbringing set up a Jewish foundation and identity for me, but it took some conscious actions to redefine my beliefs, practices, and desired community over the course of my life. It is also now apparent that we live in a very different world than my childhood days. I would think that many of you, in retrospect, have also redefined the importance of Judaism and how it may factor into your life over time. I grew up with parents that felt it was important for us to know we were Jewish in much more of a cultural sense than a religious sense. I grew up the youngest of 5 children, with 2 older brothers and 2 older sisters, with 14 years between me and my oldest brother. The boys went to Hebrew school and had bar mitzvahs, while my sisters did neither. Both my sisters still would have liked to have bat mitzvah, but the times were different back then. In fact, at age 67, my oldest sister, Cindy, is seeking to study to have a bat mitzvah now. It's never too late. I'll give you a glimpse of my younger days. Going to temple for the high holidays was a must. We lit the Hanukkah candles and exchanged presents, and we had a family Seder gathering for Passover. My mom would be sure to light yard site candles for loved ones, and of course Jewish food was a staple. Mandel bread, kugel, brisket, chicken soup, corned beef were all often on the menu. Wouldn't do that in Yom Kippur. It was also easy to be Jewish growing up in Lincolnwood because back then nearly everyone in Lincolnwood was Jewish. As a kid, it was just felt normal being Jewish. We belonged to a conservative synagogue and attended services pretty much twice a year for the holy holidays. That was about it. For those services, we sat in the basement sanctuary where the junior rabbi led the service. while the regulars and some say more generous members were seated in the main sanctuary upstairs with the rabbi. The services were all in Hebrew, and in my perspective, they were neither engaging nor meaningful to me. Like most Jewish boys in Lincolnwood, I attended Hebrew and religious school twice a week, after school and on Sunday mornings. At that time, temple educators saw it important that beginning in 5th grade to separate the boys and the girls so that they could teach different things to the boys. Putting a bunch of adolescent boys in the room together after a full day of school did seem to be somewhat challenging from a disciplinary standpoint. Lori Sagrin would have never done that. I went through the motions, learning to read Hebrew and learning the prayers with little explanation along the way. And on April 13th, 1976, I had my bar mitzvah and proudly continued to go to Hebrew school for the month or so that followed. After this important day, there was a large gap where Jewish practices were put on the back burner. That said, I always felt very much Jewish. The gap, in fact, I would say was over 15 years until about the time when I started dating my now wife, Jennifer. Jennifer was brought up Lutheran in a smaller town in Wisconsin, with not much exposure to Jews nor Jewish religion or traditions before meeting me. She was, however, intrigued with the Jewish religion and wanted to learn more about it. We both felt that Reform movement was likely how we could best fit in. Our reasoning back then, we liked that the part of the service was in English and we could understand the meaning and purpose of prayers and not being over-the-top Jewish. As we started to get more serious about our relationship, we began attending services at several Reformed synagogues with the desire to find one that we'd want to join. Fast forward a bit, and prior to getting married, Jennifer had decided to convert, and part of the reasoning being that we wanted to bring up our children with a united religious Jewish upbringing. I took conversion classes with her, and we studied together. It was my first real learning experience in learning our religion and tradition. I learned way more in conversion classes than I ever learned in religion in Hebrew school, and might have had some level of due maturity as well. In 1996, Jen and I were married under the chuppah by a young, vibrant, well-respected Reform rabbi, similar a lot of ways to Rabbi Marks. We had so much respect for her, for she was very approachable and provided practical direction and guidance for practicing as Reformed Jews in the modern day. We remained members at that temple for about 10 years. Jennifer also had her adult bat mitzvah there, and our children both attended their preschool program. The thing was, we liked the rabbi, but we never felt like we were truly part of the community, except for making a few friends with a few parents, some of who are also members of TBI now. In 2006, for various reasons, including the change of rabbis, we chose to change our affiliation to Temple Beth Israel, as it felt more like us. This is truly where my Jewish journey started to change. It was not more than a year into our membership that both Jen and I got involved in going to services and helping in volunteer positions. Priorities do change throughout one's life. For me, I was at a point in my life where I felt that the sense I was blessed in so many ways, it was time to start giving back. I have proudly served many lay leadership positions and have gladly volunteered often at TBI. I recount having a conversation with my late brother, Gene, who was 11 years older than me and one of the smartest, funniest guys ever. He would try to instill big brother values to me and would often say, "You get what you give." He was a wise man. It is just so true. In 2012, I learned firsthand what community and affiliation really meant, as that summer, within 3 months of each other, I lost both my parents. The support from TBI community and Rabbi Weinberg was so comforting and beyond expectation. The TBI community brought me much comfort and support during those sad days. The years that ensued, our daughter Lily and then our son Henry became B'nai Mitzvah and were set on their paths of young Jewish adults. Lily ended up going to Israel with the Ta'am program in 8th grade and came back with a new appreciation and excitement of religion, culture, and history. She also remained a Mahonig through high school. There's a lot I didn't know just because it wasn't on my radar screen as part of being of my upbringing. For example, neither of our kids went to Olin St. Ruby Union Institute or Asrui overnight camp. And for many years, I really did not know or appreciate the strong affiliation and significance of TBI's deep support of camping. As background, my parents sent my oldest brother to overnight camp, not Asrui, and it didn't prove to be a positive experience. Coupled with me being the youngest in our family and my parents having already been parenting for a long time, the overnight camp experience was not in my favor. My youth experience was simply going to Lincolnwood Day Camp. Now I see in so many of our members, their children, and oh yes, our rabbi, that Asrui experience provides a platform for a Jewish foundation in such a fun setting and sees the practice of religious rituals along with long-lasting friendships and Jewish ties. Over the years, and as recently as serving in my current capacity, I have learned so much about our rituals, our culture, our tradition, our people, and our community. I go to services because I enjoy them, not out of obligation. I enjoy being in the moment with the prayers and songs, hearing the Dvar Torahs, listening to the wise words from the rabbi, sharing in people's celebrations, and supporting those in need. I enjoy our community, and I appreciate the Reform movement in a much more knowledgeable way. At times, I admittedly think, what would it be if I was brought up differently, if I grew up in a Reform household, or even a member of TBI? How would my Jewish identity be today? I can't go there. That's not my story. As my story goes, I feel more Jewish now and part of a Jewish community than I ever felt before. I do feel blessed to have found TBI on my third go-around. What I've learned is that I could feel good about being a Jew in whatever capacity that means in a point in time, no matter how much you know or practice. One short story I will share. I was visiting with a TBI member that attends Torah study on Saturday morning, and he recounted a conversation between him and Rabbi Weinberg that resonated with me. He described how the two of them discussed, why is it that you could study the Torah for a lifetime? I'm probably not going to do this justice. The answer given was that there were many interpretations of any portion of Torah. In addition, your personal interpretation, which may change as your life perspectives change. Thus, each year you may see the same portion of Torah in a very different way. Like my parents did for me, it is also my hopes and dreams that Jennifer and I have provided a solid Jewish foundation for our children to live their Jewish lives in meaningful and rewarding ways, and that they too find Jewish faith and connections as we have here. I have learned to appreciate the Reform movement so far beyond those initial naive days of thinking Reform just meant the same prayers, or that some prayers are read in English, and that was a lighter degree of being Jewish. In reflection, I have learned being Jewish is a lifelong journey, and there's no right answer. It's simply boundless for each of one of us. On behalf of the congregation, there are so many to thank during these high holy days. We are so fortunate for the efforts of so many dedicated congregants, professionals, and staff. When I accepted to serve as president, the next rabbi to be named, I didn't know, a bit of a wild card. We are so blessed to have that to be named rabbi, to be Rabbi Rachel Marks. Working with her firsthand has been a true privilege. My respect and admiration continues to grow for Rabbi Marks. She leads us with great knowledge and wisdom of Judaism. In everything she does it with purpose in respecting the past and creating a vision for thoughtfully moving forward to meet societal and changing needs. Her energy and dedication to our serving our community is without compromise. So thank you, Rabbi Marks. Thank you for your rabbinic leadership and guidance. I'd also like to sincerely thank Albert Marks and Georgina for allowing us the great privilege of having your wife and mom, respectively, as our rabbi. So much of our ritual and culture has been cultivated from the 34 years of service by our Rabbi Emeritus, Rabbi Michael Weinberg. Thank you, Rabbi Weinberg, for your continued leadership and support. I would like to also thank Lori Sagrin, our Director of Congregational Learning. It's Lori's 27th, maybe 28th year of serving TBI. She has been instrumental in providing the teaching curriculum for our religion and Hebrew to our children. She once again has assembled a team of well-qualified teachers this year. In addition, she always is focused on providing relevant educational programs in many forms for continued adult education. Thank you, Lori, for your tenacity in all the years of service. And of course, thank you to the teaching staff for being fantastic educators and propagators of our Jewish faith for our youth. We welcome Cantor Richard Cohn and his wife Marcia to our TBI family. Cantor Cohn is serving us as newly created position of our Cantor in Residence. We are most fortunate that he and his wife have chosen to be part of our TBI community. Cantor Cohn's remarkably beautiful voice that fills the sanctuary is just the end product of his lifelong journey of mastering the music behind our songs and prayers. He conducts us in music with intentionality and making music that matches the ultimate meaning of every note he sings. Words cannot express our appreciation that you have chose to be part of our clergy. Thank you also goes out to the High Holiday Choir in Kalenu, along with the pianist Jason Carlson and celloist Elizabeth Anderson for creating such beautiful sound and melody. Also, thanks to our musicians Danny Schwartz and Micah Brandhandler and others as they join us for services throughout the year. An enormous amount of thanks needs to be given to our dedicated office and maintenance staff, as well as our office volunteers. Please join me in thanking Rebecca Lieber, Mari Plotnick, Tanya Freed, Nancy Barranca, Jose Rico, and Nate Barranca. They have all stepped up in a big way with a full slate of responsibilities while being shorthanded. Thanks for hanging in there. You are all so appreciated. One of the things that sets TBI apart is our involvement by so many volunteers who selfishly devote their time and energy for the benefit of us all. I would like to extend profound gratitude to our past presidents, officers, board of trustees, the sisterhood, and the brotherhood. These leaders all have shown their tremendous dedication in the mission of supporting TBI and its members. I thank you all. A special recognition needs to be made to Carol Barrington, Judy Kemp, and Amber Wood. Carol and Judy have been steadfast in leading the charge and preparing for a high holiday year over year. Let's just say for a long time. I would be remiss to point out that prior experience does not make this job easier, but likely harder. These dedicated women strive for perfection. They are assisted this year by Amber Wood. Nobody does logistics better than Amber. On behalf of our congregational family, I thank you all. I need to thank the stream team for connecting our folks at home and allowing them the ability to participate in our rituals. Thank you to John Schneider for leading the charge and the small group of member volunteers that control the streaming throughout the year and for the high holiday worship. There are so many more people that deserve to be recognized, including those that were involved with setup, sound, security, and usherings. Please peruse your high holiday announcements where recognition is given to all our volunteers. The reason our temple is so vibrant is a contribution of time, skills, and generosity of our members. I want to thank each of you for being your unique part of our special TBI family. To my wife, Jennifer, and our two college-age kids, Lily and Henry, you are the love of my life. It brings such pride and happiness. I love that each of you are so driven in your own respects. You are all amazing and give me inspiration every day. May God be kind and provide good health to all of us. May you find yourself in a path led with Jewish values and beliefs, strength to follow your dreams, and courage to seek solutions in an ever-changing and challenging world. May we all also be thankful for our many blessings and good fortunes. As is our tradition, the high holidays are a time meant for us to consider the world around us, how we live our lives, what is important to us, and commit for being better human beings, living better Jewish lives. It's a time to reconnect with our family, our friends, and community. It is with great pleasure to be with you all today, this Rosh Hashanah Eve, to commence the days of awe. I wish you and yours a sweet and joyous new year. Shana Tova.
Shana Tova. Going to invite everybody to turn to page 6 in your Machzor. And I want Neil to quote something you just said. You said it's a time to reconnect with our family, friends, and community. So we're going to begin our service formally by connecting with family, friends, and community, whichever category is a good fit for you in this moment. And we're going to begin with music of celebration as we reach this new year. So I learned a melody from a friend in Tel Aviv who with his congregation every year sings the following. Where's that F, Jason? That's what I thought. So every year, when it's Rosh Hashanah, and only when it's Rosh Hashanah, they sing, which is a cool tune because it's just the same thing. It just moves around. You get the idea. So we thought, the choir and I thought, and then I invited the choir to think with me, that we would start by singing this melody with you tonight and also add to it the words, Hine ma tovu manaim shevet achim gam yachad. Behold, it is a really beautiful, lovely, and good thing to gather together as a community, and especially this night as we return in person for High Holy Days. So we're going to warm up our voices and our spirits by singing that melody. So here's how the first part goes again. It goes, so masks on, but we're all going to sing. Take a real breath. Don't get the cloth of the mask totally caught when you're breathing. Take a good breath. The choir's going to sing with us. And let's see if we can all sing that melody together. So it goes. Now without the choir, they're really good. Adventurous, if you want to try to sing Hine ma tovu manaim, we're going to sing Hine ma tov. Everybody sing Hine ma tov. That's so good. Umanaim, umanaim, shevet, shevet, achim gam yachad, achim gam yachad. So it goes, Hine ma tov, umanayim, shevet, achim gam yachad. Again, Hine ma tov, umanayim, shevet, achim gam yachad. And it fits right in with So you can choose either one, or you can just kind of swing back and forth, if that's your way of singing. Swing back and forth. So, all right, so we're going to stand up, and, well, you don't have to stand up. The choir's going to stand up. And if you're moved to stand up, you're welcome to do that. And all of us on the bima, we're going to sing too, right? Right, okay. So, Jason's going to give us an introduction, and we're going to start, and if you want to sing Hine ma tov, do it. But here's the real magic of it. This is the moment that by uniting our voices, we also unite our hearts and our spirits and our intentions and our hopes for these High Holy Days and for this year that Rabbi is about to announce, 5783, that it may be a good year for us as a community and in our land with all of our people. So we'll sing.
blessing over the Yontif candles.
Creation's brightest light, the mystics say, was hidden at the dawn of time. But on this sacred night, this night of hope and joy, a glimmer of that light is here. In candles' flame, in children's eyes, in eyes aglow with wisdom's light. It shines in the faces of the ones we love, in grateful hearts, in tears of loss. It lives in memories of goodness and in our own desire to do right, to try again, to build anew, to ask forgiveness and make peace. We enter this new year and look upon the beauty of these lights. So may the days of awe renew the light within us. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel yom tov. Source of blessing, eternal our God, you fill the universe with majestic might, teaching us holiness through sacred obligations, giving us the mitzvah of bringing light on this festival.
Let's turn now to page 78 as we rise for the festival Kiddush.
Lift this cup for the year that is gone, for mountaintop moments and the taste of joy, celebrations shared, milestones met, all we've mastered and achieved since we last met, for wedding rings, tears and kisses under the chuppah, new babies, first words and first steps, for the children who bless our homes and bring life to our community, for B'nai Mitzvah and confirmands, young teachers of this holy congregation, ours to cherish and guide with love, for beloved wives and husbands, sisters and brothers, for loyal friends who grow more precious with each passing year, for this community which nourishes us all, for all we've learned, for all we've struggled through, for challenges surmounted and disappointments met with courage, for last moments shared with those we loved and lost, for parents and grandparents whose memories are with us forever. We lift this cup for the year that is gone, for the year that begins. May we meet in strength, in unity, in hope. We lift life's cup and celebrate survival. So may we sanctify each day that is ours.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ham ורוממנו מכל לשון וקידשנו במצוותיו ותיתן לנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה את יום הזיכרון הזה יום תרועה מקרא קודש זכר יציאת מצרים כי הבנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים ודברך אמת וקיים לעד ברוך אתה אדוני על כל הארץ מקדש ישראל ויום הזיכרון שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
You may be seated. Traditionally, Shlichei Tzibur worship leaders offer a prayer of humility at this moment, as we devote ourselves now to High Holy Day worship. In lieu of the passages found in the Machzor, we offer a creative Hineni, inspired by the work of Rabbi Josh Warshawski. Here I am, lacking in merit, trembling and frightened. Who am I? I have come to plead before you, keenly aware of my human limitations. Therefore, I request of you, Master of forgiveness, heart searcher, prayer listener, revealer of deep secrets, awesome and wondrous, exalted one. May the path I embark on be successful. Accept my prayer like it is the prayer of the righteous and the innocent. Accept it as though it is sung out in a sweet voice. Accept it as though it is prayed by someone whose life has been well spent, by someone who is deeply interconnected with the people and the world around them. For you hearken to prayers and desire us to return. Blessed are you, prayer listener. Let's turn to page 15 and rise.
בחודש שופר, בכסל יום חגנו. כי חוק לישראל הוא. משפט לאלוהי יעקב. משפט לאלוהי
יעקב. On page 19, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Yehi ratzon shenizke levirchotecha, bishnat chameshet alafim, Shva ma'ot shmonim v'shalosh. Elohei olam barech otanu ve'et kol beit Yisrael, b'chidush yameinu, b'simcha u'v'shalom, b'nechama u'v'omitz lev, b'chilutz atzamot u'v'ruach etana. Yehi paris fatenu mikubal v'ratzui milfanecha, bifros Hashanah hachadasha, la'ad modim anachnu lach, Amatanat HaChayim. Our God and God of our ancestors, may we know your blessings in the year 5783. Eternal One, bless us and the whole house of Israel with renewed life, happiness, and peace, comfort and courage, resilience and strength. May the words of our heart be acceptable to you in the new year that stretches before us. We are forever grateful for the gift of life. Together on page 22 in Hebrew. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chokhma poteach she'arim, u'bitbuna meshane itzim, u'machalif et hazmanim, u'mesader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono, borei yom v'layla, Golei or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, uma'avir yom u'mevi laila, uma'avdil ben yom u'vein laila, Adonai tzavaot shemo, El chai v'kayam, tamid jimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. On page 24, love beyond all time and space, your love enfolds your people Yisrael. You receive it in your teaching, your gift of Torah, sacred, we receive it in your teaching, your gift of Torah, sacred obligations, discipline, and law. So let us speak these teachings when we lie down and rise up, and find joy forever in your Torah and mitzvot. They are the very essence of our life, ours to ponder and study all our days. May we never lose or be unworthy of your love.
Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam רוחך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם המזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם אלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
On the bottom of page 33, let's pray responsively. You have stayed long enough in this place, God said. Time to go forward.
Turn your face to the future. Believe that you can cross the sea and survive.
Inside you is a Moses. Within you, Miriam dances unafraid. Lift up your voice and sing a new song.
כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, v'ha'amidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Bless our sleep with peace, Adonai, and awaken us to life when we rise. With power sublime, spread over us your shelter of shalom, and through your wisdom, restore us, make us whole. Let your name proclaim your presence in our lives, be our shield, make us stronger than the enemies we face. Illness and war, famine and sorrow, and stronger than the enemies in our hearts, wickedness and sin. Carry us to safety as on wings, for you are the monarch of grace, the sovereign of compassion. You are the one who cares for us and sets us free. Watch over us, we who go forth to life. Watch over us that we may come home in peace, now until the end of time. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. We continue on page 40, praying the Chatzi Kaddish and opening passages of the Amidah. We'll be using the traditional High Holy Day melodies.
יתקדש שמי רבה ועלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן יהי שמרה במרה ועליו ולעלה הודיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריאו לעילא ולעילא מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבתה ונחמתה להמירן בעלמא ויאמרו Amen.
Let's turn to page 44 and rise.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני ברוך שמו מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע מוריד הטל together מכלכל חיים בחסד מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים סומך נופלי ורופא חולים ומכיר הסולים ומקיים אמונתו נשארת אהבה החיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, ברוך שמו, וחיי הכל.
Page 49. You are holy, your name is holy. Seekers of holiness praise you day by day. Selah. And so, in your holiness, give all creation the gift of awe. Turn our fear to reverence. Let us be witness of wonder, perceiving all nature as a prayer come alive. We bow to the sovereignty of your strength, the primacy of your power. We yearn for connection with all that lives, doing your will with wholeness of heart. Awe-inspiring is your creation, all-encompassing your transcendent name. Let's pray together on page 50. And so, in your holiness, give your people the gift of honor. Bless with praise those who praise you. Bless with hope those who seek you. Give your believers a basis for faith, true happiness for the land of Israel, true joy in Jerusalem. May the sparks of David, your servant, soon grow bright enough for us to see a beam of light in the darkness, a promise of perfection. And so in your holiness, give the righteous the gift of a vision bright with joy, a world where evil has no voice and the rule of malevolence fades like wisps of smoke. Good people everywhere will celebrate the stunning sight of arrogance gone from earth. V'timloch ata Adonai levadcha al kol ma'asecha. You and you alone, Adonai, will reign over creation upon Mount Zion, home of your presence, and in Jerusalem, a city set apart by you. As the psalmist believed, Adonai will reign eternally, your God Zion, for all generations. Hallelujah. Together, you are holy. Your name is awe. There is nothing divine beyond you. As the prophet Isaiah taught, the source of all might is exalted through justice, the God of holiness made holy through righteousness. Baruch atah Adonai, HaMelech HaKadosh. Please be seated. You chose us with love to be messengers of mitzvot, and through us you made known your aspirations. Among all the many peoples, you gave us a pathway to holiness. Among all the great nations, you uplifted us and made yourself our sovereign. And so we seek you and serve you and celebrate our nearness to your presence. Your great and sacred name has become our calling. Let's read together on page 54. In your love, eternal our God, you have given us this day of remembrance, a day for the shofar's joyful sound, a day of sacred assembly, a day to be mindful of our people's going out from Egypt. Our God and God of the generations before us, may a memory of us ascend and come before you. May it be heard and seen by you. winning your favor and reaching your awareness. Together with the memory of our ancestors, the memory of your sacred city, Jerusalem, and the memory of your people, the family of Israel, may we be remembered for safety, well-being, and favor, for love and compassion, for life and for peace on this day of remembrance.
Zochrin Adonai Eloheinu b'ol b'tova. Amen.
Eternal our God, remember us.
Amen. Ufochdenu b'ol livracha. Amen.
Be mindful of us.
Amen. V'hoshinu bo l'chaim.
And redeem us for a life of goodness and blessing.
Amen.
Favor us with words of deliverance and mercy. Show us the depth of your care. God, we await your redemption, for you reign with grace and compassion. We pray responsively now at the top of page 57. This is the season of God. This is the season of our humanity.
Malol, 3 Hebrew letters, Mem, Lamed, Kof. Reign over time and space. Malol, reign over the infinite expanse. Show us your reality. Help us see our finite place in the cosmos that is our home.
What is God's sovereignty? What is God's rule?
It is the rule of unity by which we sense coherence in the universe. It is the power of relationship, relating every image of God to every other image of God, and to every facet of nature. Sunshine and ocean waves, heartbeats, honeybees, the stuff that stars are made of. It is the ultimate power that governs our lives with wisdom, compassion, truth, and kindness.
In this season of God, may we breathe new life into the ancient name Melech HaOlam. And may the ruler of the universe breathe new life into each of us. Let's continue on the next page. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, kadshenu b'mitzvotecha v'tein chelkenu b'toratecha. Let's pray together in English. God who is ours and God of our fathers and mothers, lead us to holiness through your mitzvot, and may each of us find a portion of Torah that is ours. You bestow such goodness. Teach us to be satisfied and to know the joy of your salvation. Help us to serve you truly with purity of heart, for you are a faithful God whose truth stands forever.
Baruch atah Adonai. Retzei Adonai Eloheinu be'amecha Yisrael u'tefilatam be'ahava tekabel u'tehil ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael Israel Amecha El Karov Lechol Koreav Pnei Lavadecha V'chonenu Shefach Rochacha Avinu V'techezena Einu L'tzivaka
Amen. On page 62, let's pray responsively. God who is ours, God of all generations, to you we are forever grateful forever. We thank you and tell the tale of your praise, your power in our lives, your caring for our souls, the constant miracle of your kindness. And for all these gifts, God of majesty, may your name come to be blessed and praised, our gratitude a daily offering until the end of time. And may all life resound with gratitude and faith in praise of your name. God, you free us and strengthen us. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulcha na'eh lehodot.
Shalom, Aval Yisrael, Amecha, Tasim, Le'olam. Melech Adon lechol hashalom. Oseh Shalom.
Let's take some time now for our own private prayers. Page 74. Let's pray responsively. Avinu Malkeinu, strong was the faith of generations before us. In exile they proclaimed enduring hope. In the shadow of persecution they affirmed a transcendent love and compassion. Ours is a different age, less confident and certain, more tentative in its trust.
There are many who say to the works of their hands, "You are our gods." But when our worship centers on our own creations, we feel less gratitude, more doubt and despair. This is the paradox of our spiritual lives. We grow smaller in self-exaltation, nobler when we reach for you.
On this night of return, let us find the humility to come close to you and open ourselves to your presence. For you are absent only when we fail to make room for you in our hearts, distant only when we turn away from you. Now, as others have done before us, let us overcome doubt and speak these words of affirmation.
We call you Avinu, as loving parent. Forgive our wrongs and failings. Accept us in our human frailty.
We call you Malkeinu. As sovereign of our souls, help us rise from our brokenness to build a world of shalom. Please rise now as the ark is opened. Page 76. Avinu Malkeinu, ein lanu melech ela ata.
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, you alone are our sovereign.
Avinu Malkeinu, lema'ancha rachim aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, for your sake, show us mercy.
Avinu Malkeinu, aseh imanu lema'an shmecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, act toward us as befits your name.
Avinu Malkeinu, shlach refuah shlema lecholei amecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, bring healing and wholeness to the ill among us.
Avinu Malkeinu, Kara Ro'a Gazar Dinenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, of the decree against us.
Avinu Malkeinu, Kotvenu Besefer Geula V'Yeshua.
Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us in the book of redemption and renewal.
Avinu Malkeinu, Zochrenu Bezichron Tov Lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, remember our goodness and call it to mind.
Avinu Malkeinu, Aseh Lama'ancha V'Hoshienu.
Avinu Malkeinu, act for your sake and save us.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, hear our voice.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu Lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, we have strayed and sinned before you.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol Aleinu Va'al Olalenu V'Tapenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and our families.
Avinu Malkeinu, Kalei Dever V'Cherev V'Ra'av Me'alenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, halt the onslaught of sickness, violence, and hunger.
Avinu Malkeinu, Kalei Kol Tsar Umastin Me'alenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, halt the reign of those who cause pain and terror.
Avinu Malkeinu, Kotvenu Besefer Chaim Tovim.
Avinu Malkeinu, enter our name in the book of lives well lived.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chadesh Aleinu Shana Tova.
Avinu Malkeinu, renew for us the year of goodness.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu Va'anenu, Ki ein banu ma'asim, Aseh imanu tzedakah v'chesed v'hoshienu.
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, answer us with grace, for our deeds are wanting. Save us through acts of justice and love. Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu Lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol Aleinu, Ve'al Olaleinu, V'Tapenu.
It was Friday, November 11th, 2016. Just 3 days after what was, at the time, the most contentious election any of us could remember. As the assistant rabbi serving a congregation in Milwaukee, I was particularly ready for Shabbat to come. Living in a place that was more divided than any of us had grasped before that week, I was ready to embrace the peace of Shabbat. And happily, this Shabbat, the congregation in Milwaukee would be hosting a scholar in residence who would offer the sermon during Friday night services. When it came time for the scholar to share his sermon, I settled into my seat, waiting to be enlightened. Anti-Semitism, he began, is no longer a problem. Did I hear him correctly? Did this scholar, a history and political science professor at one of the local universities, who also happened to be a well-respected member of the Jewish community, just tell us on November 11th, 2016, that anti-Semitism was no longer an issue? He went on, suggesting that Americans have fully and completely embraced Jews in all facets of society. He added the caveat that there would always be hateful individuals on the fringes, but by and large, he declared, the threat of widespread anti-Semitism no longer existed here in America. This was not the sense of Shabbat peace I was hoping for. I felt a pit forming in my stomach because even though I wanted so badly to believe this professor, this respected academic and leader in the community, I wanted to believe that he was right. I knew deep in my kishkis that he was very wrong. A few months prior, in the lead up to that November 2016 election, I met with 10th grade confirmation students at Congregation Shalom in Milwaukee. Each year, I survey the confirmation students to find out exactly what is on their minds, what topics they're hoping to cover to help deepen their connection with Judaism, with Jewish thought and Jewish practice. I expect the students to ask me about Jewish views on bioethics or about the parts of the tradition that are, let's say, for more mature ears. So this particular year, when I posed the question, a girl who was otherwise a quiet student shot her hand up in the air. I want to learn how to deal with anti-Semitism, she stated plainly. I glanced around the room, expecting the other students to be puzzled or surprised even. Instead, the other students nodded in agreement. And one by one, they offered their personal experiences encountering anti-Semitism in Wisconsin over the past year. Experiences ranging from finding a swastika on one of their lockers, to being on the receiving end of derogatory comments from classmates, teachers, and coaches. How I wished I could protect these dear students of mine. I wished I could form some kind of protective barrier around them so that they could be shielded from this terrible hatred. I wished that they could be growing up in a simpler, more accepting time. The truth, as we all know, is that our country has changed significantly in the past decades. The Anti-Defamation League, commonly known as the ADL, describes itself as the leading anti-hate organization in the world. The ADL, along with the FBI, keep close record of anti-Semitism here in the United States. Here are some painful statistics that paint a picture of how American anti-Semitism has evolved in recent years. Though making up only 2% of the country's population, Jews are consistently the most targeted religious community in the United States. Since 2016, Jews in the United States have been the targets of at least 21 extremist plots or credible threats. In the year 2021, 2,717 incidents of assault, harassment, and vandalism were reported to the ADL, representing an all-time high in our country. Let me be clear, this is not normal. This number represents an average of 7 incidents per day, which equals a 34% increase year over year since the ADL began keeping track of anti-Semitic incidents back in 1979. But we don't really need these statistics to tell us that the professor was wrong. We have witnessed firsthand a kind of hatred that used to hide in the shadows. It's on display now for all the world to see. We've seen it in Charlottesville, in Pittsburgh, Poway, Muncie, and Colleyville. These memories, so raw and so fresh, point to something far more disturbing than lone actors on the fringes of society. Classic anti-Semitism isn't ever really fueled by hatred alone. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, Zichrono Livracha, illustrates this difficult truth with a dark joke. The year is 1933. 2 Jews are sitting in a Viennese coffee house reading the news. One is reading the local Jewish paper, the other, the notoriously anti-Semitic publication, Der Stürmer. "How can you possibly read that revolting rubbish?" says the first. The second smiles. "What does your paper say?" "Let me tell you, the Jews are assimilating, the Jews are arguing, the Jews are disappearing. Now let me tell you what my paper says. The Jews control the banks, the Jews control the media, the Jews control Austria, the Jews control the world. My friend, if you want good news about the Jews, always read the anti-Semites." Today, we need not obtain an anti-Semitic newspaper. At our fingertips, a simple search of the internet yields incredibly dark results. You'll find conspiracy theories claiming that Jews control the banks, the media, and the government. You'll also find that Jews are behind the climate change hoax. You'll find conspiracy theories such as the Great Replacement Theory, which claim that the Jews lead an intentional effort to promote mass immigration, intermarriage, and other efforts leading to the extinction of whites. Then you'll find the dog whistle conspiracy theories, blaming George Soros for Antifa, the COVID pandemic, and for orchestrating the death of George Floyd, alav hashalom. And you'll find dog whistle conspiracy theories from people who hold high public offices, such as Georgia's 14th Congressional District Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, who claimed that the 2018 California wildfires were ignited by a space laser controlled by a corporate cabal, including the Rothschild banking firm. These contemporary conspiracy theories, the ones that today are hiding in plain sight with just a click of the finger on the phones we keep in our pockets, are not so different from the ones that have been lodged against Jews for thousands of years. Blood libels, scapegoating the Jews for diseases like the Black Plague, and the perennially popular pamphlet, The Protocols of the Elders of Zion. The list goes on. At this point, you might be thinking, this is troubling, but it's not actually news to us. We know that anti-Semitism is a serious problem on the right. But anti-Semitism isn't limited to the right. And it's not limited to places in our country like Wisconsin. Over this past year here at Temple Beth Israel, our teens experienced difficulties at school. Some were part of an Israel club that was pressured to change its name to the Jewish club so as to be less offensive. Others were made to feel that they had to check their Zionism at the door in order to fit into LGBTQIA spaces, anti-racist spaces, and other social justice spaces. Here in Skokie, I encountered a parent who wasn't sure what to do, as the Israeli flag seemed to be the only one missing from a classroom display of international flags representing the students' heritage and nationalities at her child's elementary school. This mother thought it was odd, given that there were both Jewish and Israeli children at the school. And though this mother was not looking to make waves, she also didn't want her child to be ashamed of his Jewish identity. How I wish I could protect these students of ours here at TBI. I wish I could form some kind of protective barrier around them so that they could be shielded from these harmful views. The anti-Semitism that I hear about here in Skokie from your experiences, as opposed to the anti-Semitism that the folks in Milwaukee experienced, comes mostly from the left. This anti-Semitism feels more insidious than anti-Semitism on the right. This anti-Semitism often hides behind the veil of criticism towards Israel. Let me be clear. Not all criticism against Israel is anti-Semitism. I want to say that again. Not all criticism against Israel is anti-Semitism. It is certainly appropriate for us as Jews and for any of our fellow Americans to question the Israeli government in the same way that we might question our own American government or the government of any of our nation's allies. There is a difference, however, between legitimate criticism of government policies and anti-Semitism. When Israel is singled out and held to a different set of standards, and its very existence is called into question, that is anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism on the left often follows the logic that either you are against oppression everywhere, or you are one of the oppressors. Many on the left view Israel as the very worst contemporary oppressive force, worse than Iran, worse than Syria, worse than North Korea, worse than Russia. They hold up Israel as the paradigmatic example of the ill effects of 20th century colonialism or contemporary American imperialism. Increasingly on the left, the world is divided into binary camps based on identities. Either you are part of an oppressed class and therefore one of the good guys, or you are part of an oppressing class and therefore are one of the bad guys. In this binary view, nuance becomes nothing more than collateral damage. Professor Deborah E. Lipstadt reminds us of an incident that was captured on YouTube in March of 2015 at UCLA. Rachel Beda, a well-qualified candidate for a position on the Student Council's judicial board, was initially rejected by a majority of her peers who served on the council because they assumed that as an active member of the Jewish community, she would not be able to deal with governance questions in an unbiased way. Ultimately, this decision was overturned and the students on the council apologized publicly. However, the UCLA students' initial decision reflect a sentiment that Jews are members of the elite and therefore can be neither fair-minded nor the victims of discrimination. Here in real time, on display, a group of well-meaning students categorized all Jews as the bad guys. In her book, How to Fight Anti-Semitism, journalist Barry Weiss asks, is the anti-Semitism that posits Jews are capitalists who control the world different from the one that posits that they are evil communists who control the world? Is the anti-Semitism that insists that Jews connive and exploit Gentile power different from the one that insists that they connive and exploit their own state power? Is the anti-Semitism that says that Jews are secret betrayers of the white race different from the anti-Semitism that says they are secret white supremacists? Is the anti-Semitism that forces us to designate ourselves publicly with Jewish stars different from the anti-Semitism that insists we must not? In other words, in America, is the anti-Semitism that we endure from the left so different at its core from the anti-Semitism we endure from the right? This year, in the days following the hostage situation at Temple Beth Israel, a Reform synagogue in Colleyville, Texas, Yair Rosenberg published a piece in The Atlantic titled, "Why So Many People Still Don't Understand Anti-Semitism." Rosenberg writes, "After the intruder pulled a gun on the congregation, he demanded to speak to the rabbi of New York's Central Synagogue, who he claimed could authorize the release of a Pakistani woman serving an attempted murder sentence in a Fort Worth facility near the synagogue. Obviously, this is not how the prison system works. But this intruder believed in the conspiracy that Jews control the world, that Rabbi Citron Walker in Colleyville, Texas, could call Rabbi Bookdahl in New York, and that with a simple phone call, she could get a prisoner released. The shooter at the Tree of Life synagogue also believed in a conspiracy theory. He believed that the Jews were to blame for the shifting racial demographics here in the United States, and he believed that the Jews had to be stopped. And the students at UCLA, they too believed in a conspiracy theory, that Jews could not possibly be fair-minded on account of their dual loyalty. Anti-Semitism on the right and on the left can usually be traced back to conspiratorial thinking at its core. This kind of thinking is not only deeply dangerous for Jews, but is deeply dangerous for American democracy. So what are we to do? One instinctive answer is to build protective barriers. Just as my instinct was to protect my students, our community moves quickly, responding to our deepest fears, working to physically reinforce our Jewish communal spaces, including, yes, our synagogue. We can and we should be vigilant about our physical safety, but this response treats the symptoms alone rather than treating the cause of the disease of American anti-Semitism. In order to treat the cause, we need to focus not only on building barriers, but also on building bridges. We need to build bridges between our neighbors and ourselves. We need to reach out and be in relationship with those who are different from us. We need to be involved as proud Jews in all aspects of civic life here in our wider community. Even more critical, this means that we need to be in authentic relationship with those with whom we have real differences. Even though the disease of American anti-Semitism is not yet under control, there is still good reason to believe in the potential of this country's promise. Because after Charlottesville and Pittsburgh and Poway and Muncie and Colleyville, our neighbors have consistently shown up for us. They have consistently reminded us that we are not alone. The best way to combat anti-Semitism here in our country is not only to build the bridges to our neighbors, but to walk across those bridges, bringing our whole selves into every difficult conversation, every just cause, every decent corner of our country. In this way, our neighbors get to really know us, and we get to really know them. When we build bridges and regularly walk across them, meeting our neighbors where they are, we position ourselves to be able to take a stand wherever hate rears its head, and in that process, we make it easier for our neighbors to do the same. This takes work. This means supporting our Muslim brothers and our Asian sisters. It means fighting systemic racism and protecting the hard-earned civil rights that are now under assault from members of the LGBTQIA community. This also means building bridges towards those across the political aisle, those whose socioeconomic reality differs from our own, those who voted for the candidate we didn't pick in the last election. Sometimes this is hard. There are painful complexities and real differences that might prevent us from showing up fully as our Jewish selves. But the stakes are too high to walk away. For our own sake and for the sake of this country, we have to build the bridges and walk with our whole selves across them. Tonight we embark on a journey of deep introspection during these Yamim Noraim, using our tradition and our sacred text as our guide. At the pinnacle of these days, we read from the Holiness Code, and the pinnacle of the Holiness Code implores us with our most sacred commandment, Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, to love our neighbor as ourself. I don't have all the answers. What I do know is that even though we sit in a densely Jewish, open-minded urban center, we are not immune to the effects of American anti-Semitism. If we want our children to grow up in a world that is better than the one that exists today, then we need to acknowledge this serious problem and work together to build bridges of understanding, to build bridges of community, to build bridges of love. We turn back now to our Machzorim, to page 82, and rise as we pray Aleinu L'Shabeach.
Aleinu L'Shabeach L'Hadon HaKol, L'Teit Gedula L'Yoseh Bereshit, Shelo Asanu K'goyei Ha'aratzot, Velo Samanu K'mishpachot Ha'adama, Shelo Sam Chelkinu Kahem, Vego משתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה
Please be seated, page 87. Life after death. These things I know, how the living go on living and how the dead go on living with them. So that in a forest, even a dead tree casts a shadow, and the leaves fall one by one, and the branches break in the wind, and the bark peels off slowly, and the trunk cracks, and the rain seeps in through the cracks, and the trunk falls to the ground, and the moss covers it, and in the spring the rabbits find it and build their nest inside the dead tree, so that nothing is wasted in nature or in love. As we turn to page 90 and prepare to pray Kaddish Yatom, Mourner's Kaddish, we think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us. We remember Clifford Levy, for whom we are in a period of Shiva and Shloshim. And we call to mind and to heart those dear ones who have died at this season in years past. We lovingly remember Martin H. Cohn, Lorraine K. Cohn, Paul D'Amato, Eugene Greener Jr., Pauline Rachel Jablon, Rosa Kahn, Stephen Michael Kimmel, Minnie Levin, Sue Ellen Lord Schwartz, Sandra Room, Adeline Greenberg Snyder, and Robert Zacher. I invite the mourners to please rise at this time for Kaddish Yatom. Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah, Bi'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chaye chon uv'yomei chon, uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevorach leolam olamei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar v'yitalet v'yitalal Shemei dekudesha barichu, Le'ela u'le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran bi'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min Shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru Amen. Amen. This time it's an honor to again call on Neil Gussis, the president of our congregation.
Hello once again. Tomorrow services will start again at 9 a.m. for the family services here at ETHS in the lunchroom, and then at 10:30. At that service, everyone's welcome, but do bring your tickets, and if you're bringing guests, make sure they register. The morning service is at 10:30 here in the sanctuary. This sanctuary, it's so great to be back here And then Tuesday, services are at 10:30 back at TBI. Shabbat Shalom.
Tova.
Shana Tova, everyone.
Thanks, Neil. It does feel like Shabbat. Let's turn to page 94 and rise, singing together. Page 99, Yehi Ratzon Milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Shetechadesh Aleinu Shana Tova U'Mituka. Our God and God of our ancestors, eternal God of all generations, may your presence in our lives this new year renew our spirits and renew our strengths. May it be a good year. May it be a sweet year. L'shana Tova U'Mituka.
May you be inscribed and sealed for a good year. Amen.